Hello again, everyone. Jake Schwartzberg here, back with another episode of my podcast. And today I'd like everyone to know very definitively I'm a hypocrite. I'm a hypocrite because one of my pet peeves is people who feel the need to weigh in on everything that happens as if anyone cares about your opinion. And now I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be weigh in guy. I'm going to be the guy that pops off about a current event. And what could be more current than Simone Biles? If you've got a pulse, if you've watched any TV, watched any social media, Simone Biles is an American gymnast, a spectacular American gymnast, the top American gymnast, the top gymnast in the world. And after a disappointing vault, she quit. She quit and she cited something called the twisties. The twisties, she explained, is where when you're in the air spinning your double, backy, turny, tuck, Hajimoto in a pike position. The twisties is when you don't really know where you're at in the air. And I know a little bit about that, not much at all. I did two dives when I was a young man. Off a 1 meter springboard, I could do a 1.5 and a 2.5. Front somersaults, that's it. I never knew where I was in the air. I never knew. I completely understand people who get up in the air and spin and twist and tuck and turn. I don't know how they know where they're at in the air. So I have very big empathy. If this is what's happened to her, I absolutely get it. And America erupted. America got unbelievably angry. And a line's been drawn. Not all of America's angry. I'm wrong about that. There are those who are angry and think she didn't represent her country the one time it wasn't supposed to be about you, the one time in your life that it was about something bigger than you, and you walked away without a physical injury. Versus she's a hero for understanding mental health and showing the rest of the world and young women everywhere that mental health is important too. I kind of get both pieces of that. I think those with some common sense and nuance will realize that there's no answer, that and there's no truth, that our position in this whole thing should be somewhere between you're a hero and you're a disappointment. There's somewhere in between. I want to talk about it even more. First, this greatest of all time thing, this GOAT conversation has got to stop. You can't have a conversation. You can't listen to any basketball commentating show without somebody talking about is LeBron James better than Michael Jordan. You can't have any conversations with anyone without somebody talking about the greatest of all times. You can't just be good. You can't just be great. You can't just say that's one heck of a basketball player. We feel the need to rank and say, well, he's the greatest of all time. Well, first of all, how much pressure must that put on somebody that while they're still competing, we're telling them to their face that they're the greatest of all time? And if you hear something enough, you start to believe it. And maybe she is. I would say she is among the greatest of all times. I'm old enough to remember when Nadia Comaneci set the world on fire with the first perfect 10 in the Olympics. I'm old enough to remember Olga Korbut, who at, I think 16 years old was doing things nobody else was doing. I remember Natasha, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Lukin, I think it is, who at her peak, there was no one better. I will say this, Simone is doing things that no one else has ever done. triple, holy smokes. I don't know that we need to burden people all day with the greatest of all times conversation. Let's just, let's just, let's just acknowledge she's special. She's really good. And maybe history down the road, 50 years after she's retired, maybe then we can have that conversation. But it's too much of a burden to put on this sweet kid. That's the first thing. The second thing is people my age who are probably the ones popping off the most about her being a disappointment have a little bit of a history. And I want to take you through some of my history. I grew up reading sports books. I didn't want to read anything else. My parents said, we don't care what you read, you got to read. I grew up reading the back of baseball cards, and they bought me sports books, and they brought me this book on the Olympics, and it took you all the way back to the 1920s. And I read about guys like Lasse Viren and Paavo Nurmi and I can't think, Babe Didrikson Zaharis. I read about these Olympic heroes and the way that they talked about them. And then in my lifetime, I watched Carrie Strug, who hurts her foot on a vault, and coach talks her into vaulting one last time. And with an injured foot, this 4-foot nothing kid goes flying down the vault path. Perfecto. Gold medal for America. It was heroic. It was heroic. That's what I thought. That's what all of America thought, that, oh my gosh, she cares so much about her team and representing this country that she was willing to risk injury, serious injury. It's heroic to me. In my lifetime, there's a guy named Shun Fujimoto. I can't remember his name. A Japanese gymnast who breaks his leg on the floor exercise and then has to compete in the rings. So this entire time he's on this rings apparatus, he knows he's going to have to do a dismount and land on his broken leg. And he does it. He does this triple twisting, double flipping, skippity doo-dah. Lands it. He's in so much pain. Instead of like arms straight in the air, he's on so much pain and trying to balance now on one foot that his arms. It was the most heroic thing I think I'd ever seen. Because I think he wanted to do it for his teammates. He wanted to do it for his country. He saw the event as bigger than himself. That's powerful. Not in the Olympics, but I grew up with the legend of Ronnie Lott. There's a story about Ronnie Lott, a NFL football player for the San Francisco 49ers, who I think gets his finger or caught in somebody else's helmet, and his finger comes out, and the pinky from about that knuckle over, I think, is bent sideways. And I think they take him into the locker room and say, hey, you're done. We got to emergency surgery. You're going to lose the finger. And I think, as legend has it, he says, cut it off. And they cut it off, and he finishes the game because I don't know why. Because that's who he was. That's who he is. Legendary feats. And the last one I'll talk about is the American hockey team. The Miracle on Ice guys, the guys that beat the Russians. There's a great movie commemorating the Miracle on Ice called Miracle, starring Kurt Russell, I think. And there's a great scene in the movie. Early in the movie, the coach is asking the guys to introduce themselves, and they're saying, Mike Ruzioni, I play for Boston University, or Jack Callahan, I play for University of Maryland, or Roger Craig. No, it wasn't Roger Craig. Jim Craig, I play for Boston College, something like that. And then the movie goes on. And after a little bit, there's a scene where Kurt Russell gets frustrated with the guys, and he screams something that I'll never forget. The name on the front of your shirt is more important than the name on your back. The name on the front, USA, is way more important than the name on your back, your name. So the movie goes on, and They play poorly in a warm-up game for the Olympics. And the coach keeps them afterwards and he has them do skating suicides, blue line, center line, blue line, end line, back, blue line, center line, really tiring them out. And they do it over and over and over again until one of the guys screams, Mike Eruzione. And the coach says, who do you play for? And he says, I play for the United States of America. He didn't say Boston College. He didn't say University of Maryland. He said Boston University. He said, I play for the United States of America. Just talking about that gets me a little emotional. I remember tearing up a little bit when I saw it the first time. The Olympics is the one time we hope that people are selfless and thinking more about being part of a community, a country, as opposed to individually. That's why I got some respect for the NBA basketball players that go out and play. They don't need to. They're multimillionaires. But I think the ones that go and play want to represent their country. Back to Simone. She came back. She quit the all-around. She quit the team competition. But she came back yesterday to compete as an individual in an individual balance beam. And she finished third. And congratulations, third in the world. Pretty impressive. She finished third. And her quote was, I did it for me. I feel that's unbelievably tone deaf. I haven't said one nasty thing about this young lady until right now. Simone, that was tone deaf. Understanding that the Olympics, that the whole country it's hard for me to explain how I feel when they play the national anthem. It's hard for me to explain how much pride we get from watching our athletes. And it's not about winning. It's about competing. It's about putting forth spectacular effort. It's about, there's another example I've got. In the Olympic trials, there's a guy, I think it was Ken McCulloch, I can't remember his name, who he's on the high bar, and all you do, it's one high bar and you just spit, holy smokes. He fell 3 times. And when I say he fell 3 times, pow, this guy didn't fall on his feet or something. He would fall on his back or on his face. Holy crap falls, like, oh my gosh, shocking. And every time, clearly he's not going to the Olympics now. Clearly he's blown the opportunity of his lifetime. He was in second place. He was in position to go to the Olympics, and now it's completely over. He's going to finish dead last. And every time he falls, he gets back on that bar. He gets back on that bar after the third fall. And I'm on the edge of my seat watching this kid hit his final dismount perfectly. I didn't give a crap that guy lost. I thought that was one of the most, it made me proud. I was proud of him. That's what I want everybody to understand, where these, Charlie Kirk did a really crappy job of explaining, that Simone Biles was a disgrace. No, you're not. No, she is not. But I'll tell you this, it was a little disappointing. That's that end of it. That's my piece of it. There's, of course, the other piece that I don't understand so well, which is why some of us should shut up. I don't understand mental health issues. I don't understand. I don't understand. And it's pretty hard to knock something you don't understand. So I'm not gonna. I'll end by saying to Simone, I don't know how to conclude this. I don't know where I'm at. I know, I don't think it's heroic to quit. I think it might have been necessary for her. I think it might have been prudent. I think it might have been the best thing for her. I don't know. I don't know that it was heroic. I also don't think it was a disgrace, but far from it. I don't dislike her, nor do I think she's a hero. I think I've made my point. Uh, my heroes have been the guys and girls that overcame great adversity and kept pushing forward. That's my take today. Back another day for another podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Jake Schwartzberg out.